A drunk friend exposed that I had an L with 8 guys in college. Now my fiancé's furious because I always refused with him. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. So, here's the deal, I feel like I'm losing my mind and need to know if I'm the bad guy here. This is super personal, but I don't have anyone else to talk to. My fiancé, John, and I have been together for about 3 years, and things have been amazing. We clicked right away after meeting at a friend's birthday party. Honestly, I thought he could be the one pretty early on. When he proposed a few months back, I was thrilled and said yes immediately. We had to pause wedding planning because of the whole pandemic thing, but we didn't mind because we just loved being together. For a bit of background, John and I met at a mutual friend's birthday party but didn't really chat much until we bumped into each other again at a local bar a few weeks later. He didn't remember me at first, which was awkward, but once I reminded him, we hit it off. Our first date was a bit of a mess. The restaurant lost our reservation, it rained, and I broke my heel. Despite all that, we had a great time just talking. Fast forward, we moved in together after about a year, and things have been mostly smooth. John's thoughtful and funny, and we rarely have serious arguments. I could see myself with him forever, or at least I could, until this recent drama. We never really dug deep into our past relationships or sexual history, not because we avoided it, but we just liked focusing on the present. I knew he'd had a few serious relationships and he knew I'd dated around in college, but we never got into details. Maybe that was a mistake, who knows? As far as our sex life goes, it's been great, or so I thought. We're pretty compatible in preferences, and he's always been caring. At first, there were a few things he suggested that I wasn't into, like, anal, but he never pressured me, which was nice. Anyway, last weekend, with pandemic restrictions easing, we decided to have some friends over. Most of them were my college buddies who John's met before. We hadn't seen each other in over a year except for some Zoom calls, so everyone was in a party mood, drinking more than usual and just happy to hang out. John was being an awesome host, keeping drinks filled and snacks out. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have him, especially because he got along so well with my friends. Then someone suggested a drinking game, Never Have I Ever. It started off tame but got more personal and, well, sexual, as these things do. Someone asked if anyone had ever done it in public, and a few of us, including John and I, took a drink. Then, someone went direct and asked if I'd ever had anal sex. I tried to play it cool and dodge the question, but my friend Melissa, who was totally gone by then, just blurted out, "Of course she has, with Mark and that guy from her statistics class." I was so embarrassed. I gave her a death glare but didn't want to wreck the party, so we all kind of awkwardly laughed and moved on. But I noticed John giving me a look. So, this one time at a party, I noticed someone giving me a weird look from across the room. But I tried to shake it off and just enjoy the night. We had a blast though. The party went on for a few hours more. We ordered some pizzas, cranked up some tunes, and before I knew it, everyone was dancing in our living room. The conversations flowed effortlessly, and it seemed like everyone was having a great time. I did my best to forget about that awkward moment and just soak in the good vibes with friends. As the night wound down, folks started heading out. Ryan was the first to go around midnight because he had to be up early for work. Next, Taylor and her boyfriend said their goodbyes, followed by a few others. Poor Melissa was so plastered that her boyfriend practically had to carry her out. He apologized for her antics, but I just waved it off, saying it was no biggie, even though I was a bit annoyed. Once everyone left, my buddy John and I looked around at the disaster that was once our apartment. There were empty bottles and pizza boxes everywhere, cushions scattered on the floor, and someone had spilled wine on the rug. Just your typical post-party chaos. We started cleaning up in silence, which wasn't unusual since we were both exhausted. But I noticed John was quieter than normal, not even cracking his usual jokes about swearing off hosting parties, even though he loves them. After tidying up most of the mess, I decided to check in on him. I asked if everything was cool, but he just shrugged and said he was tired. I could tell something was up because he wouldn't make eye contact and his answers were clipped. I pressed a little more, asking if something was on his mind. That's when he dropped a bombshell, asking me about my past sexual experiences, specifically if I'd ever had anal sex. I was caught off guard and didn't really know how to respond. It felt like we were having two separate conversations. Eventually, I admitted, yeah, I had, back in college. He seemed surprised and asked why I never told him. I explained it just never came up in convo. Then he started with the questions: how many guys, did I like it, why hadn't I mentioned it before? It felt like an interrogation. I honestly told him I had done it with about 8 guys in college. John was shocked and repeated it like a revelation. I felt embarrassed by his tone, like he was judging me for my college days. I tried to explain it was all before him and didn't matter now. But he pointed out that I'd turned him down every time he brought it up, which was true. I had always said it wasn't my thing without delving into my past. I tried to clarify that I wasn't interested in it anymore. Back in college, I was more adventurous and explored a lot, including things I didn't particularly enjoy, just for the thrill or to please someone else. As I grew up, I realized I didn't need to keep doing those things. John seemed confused, as if trying to pin it on not wanting to do it specifically with him. I reassured him it wasn't like that, it was just about what I wanted for myself. He seemed upset, thinking maybe I didn't find him attractive or trustworthy enough to share that part of my past. I did my best to explain that this wasn't about him at all. I had tried different things during a wild college phase, but I just wasn't into that anymore. Back in the day, it seemed kinda rebellious and thrilling, but honestly, I didn't really dig it and I don't want to do it again. I told him I especially didn't want to do it with someone I truly loved and respected because, for me, it felt degrading. He didn't take it well, not at all. He was like, "So, you respected those other guys less than me, and that's why you did it with them?" I tried to explain that it wasn't about respecting them, it was about how I saw myself back then and how I've changed, but he wasn't really hearing me. "I don't get it," he said, running his hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. "If you love and trust someone, shouldn't you be more open to trying different things with them, not less?" We just kept going back and forth, both getting more frustrated. I felt unheard, and he seemed to think I was hiding something. Then, he dropped a bomb that really stung. He knew I briefly dated a baseball player in college and said, "So you were okay with going low for a left fielder, but now you're all prude with me?" The moment he said it, he looked regretful and apologized, saying he didn't mean it, he was just upset. But the damage was done. I told him I didn't want to continue the convo and went to shower, hoping it'd calm me down. When I was done, he'd gone to bed. I thought about crashing on the couch but figured that'd only make things worse, so I slid into bed, staying on my side. He was awake, but neither of us spoke. That was 4 days ago. Since then, it's been super awkward. We're being polite, chit-chatting about work or dinner, but there's this huge gap between us. We haven't been intimate or even really touched each other since the fight. He went out with his buddies the other night and came home late, which isn't like him at all. I tried bringing it up the next day, but he just said he needed time to think things over. So, I gave him space, hoping he'd figure things out. Yesterday, he finally seemed ready to talk. He apologized for how he reacted and for the hurtful things he said, but admitted he was still struggling with the bombshell about my past. "I feel like there's a whole side of you I didn't know about," he said. "It makes me wonder what else you haven't told me." I assured him there weren't any big secrets, just stuff we hadn't talked about. But I could see he was still bugged. "I still don't get why you're okay doing that with other guys but not with me," he added. "It feels like you settled for me, like I'm not exciting enough." I tried again to explain that it wasn't about him, but about how my boundaries and preferences have changed over time. He seemed doubtful. We ended the convo agreeing to take some time to mull things over. He said he didn't want to break up or anything drastic but needed to see if he could come to terms with it. So, that's where we are, in this weird limbo where we're still together, still living together, but with this gigantic, awkward elephant in the room. I'm at a loss. I get that he might feel insecure or even a bit rejected after learning I did things with others that I don't want to do with him, but at the same time, I think I should be able to decide what I'm comfortable with now, regardless of my past. I'm really torn and could use some advice. Am I in the wrong for not wanting to do something with my fiancé that I did with casual partners? Update. First, big thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. There were over 100 comments when I last checked, and I tried to go through all of them. I appreciate hearing all the different views, even the tough ones. Just to clear up a few recurring points, no, I didn't trap John or lie about my past, we just hadn't gone into detail about our sexual histories until now. Some folks suggested John might be more upset about this coming out in front of friends rather than the act itself, and yeah, I've thought about that too. And to those throwing every name at me, my college days do not define who I am now. It's attitudes like this that make women feel they can't be open about their sexual pasts. And for those hinting that I might have an STD I wasn't telling John about, nope, I don't have one. I get tested regularly and I've always been upfront with John about my sexual health. Anyway, A lot's happened since I last posted, and I wanted to fill you all in on the situation. The tension in our apartment lingered for about a week after my post. We were pretty much acting like roommates, polite but distant. Sometimes we'd eat together or watch TV in the same room, but there was no affection or real connection. I tried giving John the space he said he needed, but feeling so disconnected from him was miserable. One night, after a super quiet dinner of takeout Thai where we barely spoke except to pass the soy sauce, I reached my breaking point. I told him we needed to talk, really talk about what was going on. At first, he wasn't too keen on it, saying he still wasn't sure how he felt. But I insisted, saying that no matter what, we needed to communicate. We sat down on the couch, as far apart as possible, and started talking. I asked him to explain exactly what was bugging him. Was it finding out in front of our friends, the number of partners, or was it really about the specific sex act? He took a moment to think before saying, "It's all of it, I guess." Finding out in front of everyone was embarrassing, but it was more about how he thought he knew me, and now he feels like there's this whole other version of me he knows nothing about. I pointed out that everyone has a past and that who I was in college isn't who I am now. People grow and change. But he said it's not just about what I did, it's that I was willing to do those things with people who meant nothing to me but not with him, someone I supposedly love more than anyone. That one hurt, especially the supposedly part, but I tried to stay calm. I told him I do love him more than anyone, and that's why certain things feel different with him. Back in college, it was all about the thrill and taboo. I didn't care what those guys thought because I didn't respect them or really myself. I tried to explain that what felt okay back then feels wrong with someone I deeply love and respect. He listened but still struggled to get it. "I just don't see how something can be okay in one context but not another," he said. "If you were fine with it before, why is it a big deal now?" I was getting frustrated because it felt like we were going in circles. I'm allowed to change my mind and set boundaries based on what feels right for me now, not what I was willing to do years ago. After thinking things over for a few days and reading your comments, I tried to see things from John's perspective. Finding out about my past like that, in front of our friends, probably made him feel blindsided. I could see how he might think I valued him less than past partners, even though that's not true. At one point, I broke down and told him I felt like he was punishing me for being honest. If I had lied and said I'd never done it before, we wouldn't be having this problem, I said through tears. Is that what you would have preferred? He shook his head and said he wouldn't want me to lie, but he was struggling to reconcile the image he had of me with this new info. I had you on this pedestal, he said quietly. And now I don't know where to put you. That stung, to think he had idealized me so much that learning about my real past could shake his image of me. We talked for hours that night, going over the same things again and again. By the end, we were both worn out. He said he needed to think things over, and I agreed to give him more time. In the next few days, things got a little better. The tension was still there, but at least we were talking again. He even initiated physical contact a couple of times, not in a sexual way, just a hand on my shoulder or sitting closer on the couch. I took these as good signs. So, I decided to make a gesture. I told him I'd been thinking a lot about what happened and how he felt. I explained again that it wasn't about him not being good enough or anything like that. So, here's the deal, I wasn't really feeling it with him anymore. It's not that I wasn't attracted to him, it's just that I'm in a different place in my life now. But I still told him that if it was super important to him, I'd be open to trying to work it into our sex life. He looked surprised, but not as excited as I thought he would be. He just nodded and said we could give it a shot if I really wanted to. His reaction was kind of weird, like he was just going through the motions, and it left me feeling a bit confused. I figured maybe he was just trying to be careful. A couple of nights later, we gave it a try, and honestly, it was a total disaster. I thought I could handle it for the sake of our relationship, but as soon as we started, I got hit by this unexpected wave of sadness. John used to be really attentive and caring during sex, always checking if I was okay. But this time, he was almost robotic about it. He must have noticed I was uncomfortable, maybe even close to tears, but he just kept going. When we finished, I immediately went to take a shower and ended up sitting on the floor of the tub crying. That's when I realized our relationship was probably over. It wasn't even about the sex act itself anymore but about how something fundamental had changed between us. The next day, we had one last conversation about everything. John actually apologized for his behavior and admitted something shifted for him after learning about my past. He said he'd built up this image of who I was, and finding out about my college days shattered that image. He tried to get over it but couldn't stop thinking of me with other guys, especially doing things I had initially refused to do with him. He admitted it wasn't fair and said he knows he shouldn't care about what I did before we met, but he couldn't help it. Every time he looked at me, he saw someone different. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him see me as I really am, the woman he fell in love with, shaped by all her experiences, good and bad, but he just shook his head. He'd tried all week, but he couldn't get past it, and we both realized that if we stayed together, this issue would always be between us. I knew he was right. The way he looked at me had changed, the warmth and love were replaced by something else, not exactly hate or disgust but a kind of sad confusion. So, we decided to end things. We broke off the engagement, and I moved out last weekend. My friend Taylor had a spare bedroom, so I'm crashing there until I find my own place. Surprisingly, John was helpful with the move, which made it both easier and harder in a way. It felt surreal packing up my stuff from the apartment we shared for 2 years. While packing my books, I found a note he wrote me last Valentine's Day tucked into a novel I hadn't opened since then. It said, "To my best friend and future wife, I'm the luckiest man alive," and reading that nearly broke me. Moving day was a blur. Taylor's boyfriend brought his truck, and we loaded my stuff in a few hours. John helped carry boxes and even set up my bed at Taylor's place. We were both trying hard to be civil and end things with some dignity. When everything was moved in, we stood awkwardly in Taylor's driveway, not knowing how to say goodbye. "I'm sorry it ended this way," he finally said. "I really did love you." "I loved you too," I said, "I still do." He gave me a sad smile, hugged me briefly, and then got in his car and drove away. Just like that, our 3 years together were over. I'm not going to pretend I'm doing great. This was by far the best relationship I've ever had, and watching it crumble so fast over something from my past has been disorienting. One minute we were planning a wedding, and the next, I'm sleeping on an air mattress in my friend's spare room. Life is weird sometimes. The past week has been a roller coaster. I still have moments where I reach for my phone to text John about something funny that happened or to ask what he wants for dinner. It's those small, everyday things I miss the most. I'm not really sure what the lesson is here. Maybe some things are just deal breakers, no matter how good the relationship seems. Anyway, that's where things stand. Thanks for listening to my rambling and for all the advice, even the parts that were hard to hear. I'm not sure if I'll update again, as there isn't much more to say, but who knows? Life is full of surprises, as I've recently been reminded.